Hello everybody, this is Jono21 and welcome back to another Minecraft Noteblock tutorial video. Today we're going to be doing You Got That, which is the Ricardo Milos Meme kind of song that goes on in the background. And this was requested in my Coffin Dance Meme Noteblock tutorial, which at the time of this recording I think has just passed 25,000 views, which is absolutely awesome. But essentially, someone requested I do this, and they got like 16 likes on their comment, so I kind of felt like I kind of had a strong amount of people wanting this. It's not my personal choice of what I would have picked to do as a Noteblock tutorial. It's not really melodic as such, it's more rhythmic. So if you've ever listened to the actual song, it's essentially a bass line that goes on underneath whilst like it's kind of not really sung, it's half spoken, it's a very like low male voice. So I've tried my best to put this into Noteblocks. Of course, just a quick disclaimer before this starts. The rhythms here like are really syncopated, and if you don't know what that means and you're not like musical, it essentially means that there's a lot of offbeats, basically. A lot of offbeat rhythms. The rhythm never really falls on the beat very, a lot. But essentially, I've tried my best with all these repeaters, but if you think that like there's like a wrong, rhythm somewhere, then let me know down in the comments. You can always tweak this, so if you make sure that each time you tweak it, so if I was to take one tick off this, and then I'd have to go over somewhere else and add a tick to make sure that it kind of lines up, because otherwise you'll get like a really disjointed feel between the bass line, which is a separate module, and I've made this loop round, and the kind of the melodic thing here. So essentially, this is the bass line bit. So this is the bit that goes on underneath, and I'll just give you a little listen. So this is the only thing I'm going to be doing like a kind of build of, I guess, because the rest of it I'm just going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to tell you the repeaters, because basically if you look at most of them, they're mostly all on 11, so it's all on one note. So this is what I was saying about it not being very melodic earlier on. So essentially we're going to first take a look at how to build this module. So let's take a listen at this. So this is essentially a bass line that loops, and I've got a bit of percussion going on. If you don't want that, you can always take these 6 note blocks here off. But without further ado, I'm just going to teach you how to make that, since this actually could just be what you make. You don't have to make the melodic thing, but this is a nice like addition, because it kind of adds the nice like the kind of the voice over the top, I guess. Okay, so building the bass module over here first. First of all, place down wood in this formation. So you want this, like these 6 pieces of wood in this formation. This will give it the bass sound. Next, you're going to want to place a note block, and you're going to want to place 5 note blocks like this, not just the one note block. And these are all going to be on 11, so I'm just going to quickly go tune them up. So it's going to be like this, and then that's the same for these 5 note blocks. Okay, so now I've tuned all these 5 up to 11. You're going to want to tune this one to 12, so just one higher. Now you're going to want to add in the repeaters. So first of all, repeater on 4 ticks. So this is working from this one here. So this is the one just before this. So if you were going around in like a clockwise fashion, just working clockwise. So this is the one, the first note block on 11, and it's one on a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by another repeater on 4 ticks, followed by another repeater on 4 ticks, another repeater on 4 ticks, and then the last 2 repeaters to fill in these gaps are going to be 3 ticks each. So you should have something like this now. I'm going to have to, just have a little bit of a lead in so the signal works. So this is what you should have so far. So now I'm going to go over how to make the percussion beat bit. So in order to add the kind of the beat in the background, it's really simple. You're going to want to place 1 repeater coming out. Then you're going to want to place 2 note blocks. Now these 2 note blocks have to be on any type of stone. So because I've got a sandstone floor already, I don't need to make any changes. And the third one I meant. The third one you want to place on sand, so you get the snare sound. So If you're unsure about what this means, essentially these two are on stone to give the bass drum sound. I've kind of doubled up the bass drum because it's not very loud. And one's going to be on sand. So I hope you got that. Basically 3 note blocks, 2 on stone, any type of stone. So cobblestone, chiseled stone, sandstone, smooth stone, any stone, end stone I think as well. And this one's going to be on any sand, so red sand or normal sand. Next, out of this note block here, so like in a kind of like a mirror fashion to this one, you're going to want to place a repeater, but this time on 4 ticks. And then another set of 3 note blocks, 2 on stone again, and 1 on sand. So exactly the same as those 3 over there. And it should sound like this. So you should have this kind of slightly on the beat, but slightly kind of offbeat, like beat pattern going on. And this just adds a little bit of, you know, interest to the song, I guess. It was just a bass line and the other note blocks. Sounds a bit bland, but I think the song really comes to life adding the beats. But of course you don't have to do that. It's just my personal preference to add a beat. So now we're going to move on to the part where we add this melody, which you heard at the beginning when I had the full playthrough at the beginning without any like me speaking over it. But essentially this melody is very like, it's not melodic as such, as I said at the beginning. It's kind of just on the same note. So most of it is tuned just to 11 each time. So I'm gonna like place like signs on the ones that are 12, and the rest of the note blocks I place are all going to be on 11. So you just need to remember to tune them every single one up to 11. Also, just note every note block in this one is on just regular dirt blocks to give it that piano sound. Of course, you could change it up. You could use the pumpkin if you want to get like a low distorted tone, but I personally think pumpkin sound note blocks on pumpkin sound a bit like ducks. So if you just listen. So now let's get to building this thing. As you can see, I've put the signs there to tell you which ones are on 12, but we'll get to them later. So you're going to first want to place a note block on 11, and that's pretty much exactly the same for every single note block on here. As I said earlier, I've marked out them ones and 12, but the rest of them are on 11. So I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say just place a note block, and you're just going to translate it as tune it to 11, unless I say otherwise, of course. So after this initial note block on 11 clicks, you're going to want to place a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by 1 on 1 tick. Then a note block on 11, of course. Then a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by 1 on 1 tick. Then a note block. Then a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by 1 on 2 ticks. Then a note block. Then a repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. Then a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by 1 on 1 tick, and then a note block. Then a repeater on 4 ticks and 1 on 1 tick, and then a note block. Then a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a 1 on 1 ticks, and then a note block. Then a repeater on 3 ticks, followed by a note block. Another repeater on 3 ticks, followed by a note block. Repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 1 ticks, followed by a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 1 ticks, followed by a note block. A repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 1 ticks, then a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 2 ticks, and then a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by 1 on 1 tick, followed by a note block. A repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a note block. A repeater on 3 ticks, followed by a note block. A repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 2 ticks, followed by another note block. Then a repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. Another repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block. A repeater on 3 ticks, followed by this time a note block on 12. So all the rest of them here are 11, as I said before, but this one is 12. This note block is then followed by a repeater on 4 ticks, and then another repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a note block, again on 11, as all these ones. This just because that says 12 doesn't mean this is on 12. The rest of them are pretty much 11 now, apart from the last one. This is followed by a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 2 ticks, then another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a bend with the redstone dust, followed by a repeater on 1 tick. Of course, you don't have to do this, I just like to compact my builds. Then a note block, followed by a repeater on 1 tick, followed by another note block, followed by a repeater on 4 ticks and a repeater on 1 tick. Another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 1 tick, and then another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by one on 1 ticks. As you can see, a repeater on 4 ticks and 1 ticks is a common theme here. Followed by another note block, then a repeater on 3 ticks, followed by another note block, another repeater on 3 ticks, followed by another note block, a repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by one on 1 tick, and then a note block, a repeater on 4 ticks again, and another one on 1 tick, followed by another note block, a repeater on 1 tick, followed by a note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 1 tick, and then another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, and then one on 2 ticks this time, followed by another note block, a repeater on 1 tick, followed by another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by another note block, a repeater on 4 ticks, followed by a repeater on 2 ticks, and then another note block. Of course, all these note blocks on 11 up until this point, apart from that one that was labeled 12. A repeater on 4 ticks, then another one on 4 ticks, then another note block, a repeater on 1 tick, then another note block, a repeater again on 1 tick, and then another note block, and a repeater on 3 ticks, and then finally, the final note block is on 12 clicks. So all these ones between this sign and that sign are all on 11, but the ones with signs on are 12, so as you can see. So now if you want this to repeat, you're going to want to run some redstone dust out of the back of it. You're going to want to make sure there's a delay of 3 ticks between each repetition of this melody bit. So as you can see, I put 3 repeaters all on 1 tick to get that 3 tick delay. But if you've managed to compact it in a better way, so you get this bit near the end, you might be able to do it with 1 or 2 repeaters. So maybe 1 repeater on 3 ticks, or 2 repeaters, 1 on 2 tick and 1 on 1 tick. So essentially, that has been the song. I haven't built it out because this honestly will take ages to write down the whole schematic for it, like on paper. That's what I normally do for like all the other Noteblock tutorials. But so I've just basically gone through and told you all the repeaters, and that was probably quite dull and boring, and it's got a bit boring for me here. Having to say repeater on 4 ticks followed by 1 on 1 tick and then another note block. But I hope I haven't bored you too much and all my rambling has been of use to you. And once you've finished making the melody module and the bass module, you can go ahead and just connect them up some way and find some way to power them so that they all start at the same time, and it should work nice and smoothly for you. So if you enjoyed this Noteblock tutorial, make sure to subscribe. I do lots of Noteblock tutorials on my channel. And make sure to leave a like if this was helpful. Leave a comment down below if you think there's anything in this tutorial I could change. As I said at the beginning, this is kind of a difficult one to put in Noteblocks, and I try my best at transcribing it accurately. But if there was anything that you felt I could have done to improve this song, like change a rhythm somewhere, I'd really like to know, because any feedback is good feedback, I guess. So as always, this has been Jono221, and I shall see you later.